The trading station Nova Prime hung like a crystalline jewel against the backdrop of space, its countless lights twinkling through the transparent dome sections. Inside one of its shadowy lower levels, Kang Min adjusted his formal diplomatic attire, feeling out of place among the alien dignitaries who filled the dimly lit auction hall. The air felt thick with exotic perfumes and the quiet murmur of translated conversations. As Earth's junior diplomatic representative, he had officially come to observe the station's legitimate trade practices. However, his true mission led him to this underground auction, seeking intelligence on illegal trafficking networks. The auction hall's ornate architecture contrasted sharply with its purpose, the sale of sentient beings. Alien nobles from across the galaxy occupied the plush seats, their various forms draped in expensive fabrics and adorned with precious metals. Several turned to stare at Kang Min, their expressions ranging from curiosity to disdain. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic community, and many considered them primitive upstarts. Lot number 47, announced the translator in his ear as a tall, insectoid auctioneer stepped onto the raised platform. The universal translator rendered the clicking speech into smooth basic English, a rare specimen, perhaps the last of her kind available for private acquisition. Kang Min's breath caught as guards led the next slave onto the stage. She moved with impossible grace despite her restraints, her silver hair flowing like liquid moonlight. Her skin seemed to glow from within, casting subtle patterns of light that shifted with her movements. The Aetherian female held her head high, her otherworldly beauty enhanced rather than diminished by her proud bearing. The specimen answers to Hana, continued the auctioneer, fully trained in proper etiquette and domestic arts. Her psionic abilities are intact but safely contained by the control collar. Bidding starts at 50,000 credits. Kang Min hadn't planned to participate in any actual bidding. His mission was observation only, but something in Hannah's eyes caught his attention, a fierce intelligence that belied her status as merchandise. When their gazes met briefly, he felt a whisper of something brush against his mind. There and gone so quickly he might have imagined it. The bidding started furiously, with wealthy aliens trying to outdo each other. Kang Min found his hand raising almost of its own accord, adding his voice to the competition. Each time he thought he'd reached his limit, something compelled him to go higher. 300,000 from the human representative, translated the auctioneer, antenna twitching in surprise. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The sum represented nearly all of Kang Min's personal wealth, far beyond what a junior diplomat should be able to afford. A corpulent alien merchant in hovering throne raised his appendage. 350,000. Kang Min's heart raced as he accessed his emergency accounts. 400,000. The words came out steady despite his internal turmoil. The merchant's skin flushed dark purple with anger. 450. 500,000 credits. Kang Min countered, knowing this was his absolute limit. Sweat beaded on his forehead as the merchant considered raising again. After what felt like an eternity, the merchant lowered his appendage with a disgusted gesture. The auctioneer's translator crackled to life. 500,000 credits from the human representative. Going once. Twice. Sold. The crowd buzzed with shocked whispers as Kang Min approached the stage to complete the transaction. Many had never seen a human spend so extravagantly, especially not on a single slave. Hannah's luminescent eyes followed his movements, her expression unreadable. As he signed the transfer documents, Kang Min's thoughts raced. He hadn't planned for this outcome. His superiors would be furious about his unauthorized participation in the auction. But looking at Hannah's proud bearing and feeling another whisper of that strange mental touch, he knew he couldn't have done otherwise. The guards removed Hannah's restraints, but left the control collar, handing Kang Min the activation key. She glided forward with that same ethereal grace, stopping precisely the proper distance from her new owner. "This one lives to serve, master," she said in perfect basic English, her voice carrying musical undertones that no human throat could produce. But her eyes held something else. Calculation, evaluation, and perhaps a hint of hope. Kang Min clutched the control key tightly, already forming plans. He had no intention of keeping her as a slave, but they needed to maintain appearances until they reached the safety of his diplomatic quarters. As they left the auction hall together, he felt the weight of countless alien gazes on his back, along with the heavier weight of the choices that lay ahead. The door of Kang Min's diplomatic quarters slid shut with a soft hiss, finally giving them privacy from the prying eyes of Nova Prime's inhabitants. Without hesitation, he pulled out the control key for Hannah's collar. His hands trembled slightly as he deactivated the restricting device, watching it fall away from her luminescent skin. "You're free," he said simply, stepping back to give her space. "I never intended to keep you as property." Hannah's silver eyes widened, the patterns of light beneath her skin shifting rapidly. She reached up to touch her bare neck, fingers tracing the place where the collar had been. "You spent a fortune to free a slave." Her musical voice carried notes of disbelief. "I couldn't leave you there." Kang Min moved to his small kitchen unit, preparing 2 cups of earth tea. "Something about you. I felt it when our eyes met. A touch in my mind." She accepted the offered cup with graceful movements. "You sensed that. Most species can't detect such subtle contact." A soft smile played across her features. "My people, the Aetherians, are natural telepaths, though there are very few of us left now." "How few?" Kang Min asked, settling into a chair across from her. Hannah's inner light dimmed slightly. "Perhaps 300 scattered across the galaxy. We were once millions strong, before the Great Plague. Those who survived scattered to preserve what remained of our culture." She paused, taking the sip of tea. "Most hide their true nature now, fearing capture and sale as exotic pets. Like what almost happened to you." She nodded. "I was careless, allowed myself to be noticed. The traders recognized my species immediately." Her fingers tightened around the cup. "I expected to spend the rest of my life as some noble's prized possession. Until you." "I can offer you sanctuary on Earth," Kang Min said. "My position as a diplomat gives me some latitude. We could arrange proper documentation, give you protected status." Hannah studied him intently. "Humans are unusual. Most species would see owning an Aetherian as a mark of prestige. Yet you free me immediately and offer protection." The light patterns under her skin formed complex swirls. "Why?" "Because it's right," Kang Min replied simply. "On Earth, we believe in fundamental rights for all sentient beings. Slavery is abhorrent to us." "Ah." Hannah set down her cup, her expression thoughtful. "I've studied human history. Your species has not always held such views." "No," he admitted. "We learned those lessons through bitter experience. Maybe that's why we feel so strongly about it now." To his surprise, Hannah smiled warmly. "That's what makes humans fascinating. You learn, you grow, you change. Most species remain static for millennia. But humans..." She leaned forward slightly. "Your minds are so dynamic, so adaptable. It's quite remarkable." "Is that what you sensed when our eyes met?" Kang Min asked. "The nature of my mind?" "Yes, among other things." Hannah's skin shimmered with patterns he was beginning to recognize as indicating pleasure or amusement. "I sensed compassion, determination, and an interesting capacity for mental flexibility. Rare qualities to find together." Kang Min felt his cheeks warm slightly at her assessment. "Then will you accept my offer? Earth isn't perfect, but you would be free there, protected." Hannah was quiet for a long moment, her silver eyes distant. Finally, she nodded. "Yes, I believe I will. There's something about humans, about you specifically, that intrigues me. Perhaps Earth is where I need to be right now." "I'll make the arrangements immediately," Kang Min said, already reaching for his communicator. "We can leave on the next diplomatic shuttle." "Maybe it's that human adaptability you mentioned," he replied, rubbing his temples. The practice had left him with a slight headache, but the excitement of learning something so extraordinary made it worthwhile. "Perhaps." Hannah's expression became thoughtful again. You know, in all my studies of human culture, there's one thing that stands out above all else. What's that? Your capacity for compassion. Despite all your struggles, your wars, your technological limitations, you've maintained the ability to care deeply for others, even those different from you. Her skin patterns formed intricate designs he'd never seen before. It's rare in the galaxy, that combination of strength and kindness. Looking at her in the dim evening light, Kang Min realized how much their lives had changed since that day at the auction. What had started as a rescue had evolved into something far more significant, a bridge between two civilizations, each with something vital to teach the other. Tomorrow, Hannah said softly, I'd like to show you more about Aetherian mental techniques, if you're willing. Kang Min nodded, already looking forward to their next lesson. As he watched her skin shimmer with pleased patterns, he wondered what other revelations lay ahead in this extraordinary cultural exchange. The sunset painted Seoul's skyline in brilliant oranges and purples as Kang Min prepared dinner in his apartment. 6 months had passed since he brought Hannah to Earth, and their evenings together had become the highlight of his days. Tonight, he decided to cook traditional Korean dishes, wanting to share more of his culture with her. Hannah sat at the small dining table, her luminescent skin creating dancing patterns on the walls. Her silver hair seemed to capture the last rays of sunlight streaming through the windows. She watched him with unusual intensity as he served the food, her patterns shifting in ways he'd never seen before. "This smells wonderful," she said, her musical voice carrying an undertone of nervousness that caught his attention. In all their time together, he'd rarely seen her anything but composed. "Is everything all right?" he asked, settling into his chair across from her. She took a deep breath, her skin patterns swirling rapidly. "Among my people, there are traditions for important moments like this, but I find myself wanting to do this the human way, directly and honestly." Kang Min set down his chopsticks, giving her his full attention. "What is it?" "I've chosen you as my mate," she said simply, her silver eyes meeting his. In Aetherian culture, females select their life partners based on mental compatibility. The choice is considered sacred and final. The room seemed to spin slightly as Kang Min processed her words. You? What?" Hannah's skin flickered with amusement at his reaction. "Let me show you." She reached across the table, her fingertips stopping just short of touching his hand. "May I?" Still stunned, he nodded. The moment their hands touched, he felt her presence in his mind. Not the gentle brushes they'd practiced during their lessons, but a deep, profound connection that took his breath away. Through their link, he felt her certainty, her affection, and something deeper that defied human words. "This is what perfect mental resonance feels like," she explained softly. "It's incredibly rare, even among my own people. Between different species, it's almost unheard of." "How long have you known?" he managed to ask, still overwhelmed by the connection between them. "Since the auction," she admitted. "That first mental touch told me everything. It's why I was so willing to trust you, to come to Earth. I needed to be sure, to understand you better before making my choice." Kang Min struggled to find words. "But I'm human. Wouldn't you prefer an Aetherian mate?" She shook her head, patterns of joy dancing across her skin. "Mental compatibility transcends species. Your mind, your beautiful, adaptable, compassionate mind, resonates with mine perfectly. That's all that matters to my people." "What does this mean?" he asked. "For us, for the future." Hannah's expression grew serious. "If you accept, we would form a permanent mental bond. Our children would carry both human and Aetherian traits. It would be unprecedented." But her patterns shifted to show hope and uncertainty. "I believe it could be wonderful." Kang Min looked at their still joined hands, feeling the warmth of their connection. Every moment since meeting her had led to this: the auction, the freedom granted, the lessons shared, the growing understanding between them. In his heart, he already knew his answer. "Show me again," he whispered. "Show me what you feel." Her smile brightened the room as she deepened their mental connection. This time, he was ready for it, opening his mind to fully experience the resonance between them. It felt like coming home to a place he'd never known he was missing. "Yes," he said simply. "I accept your choice." Hannah's joy manifested as waves of light rippling across her skin, filling the room with shifting patterns of silver and gold. She stood, moving around the table to kneel beside his chair, never breaking their physical connection. "My people have a saying," she said softly. "The mind chooses true, but the heart makes it real. I chose you with my mind, Kang Min, but my heart has only made that choice stronger with each passing day." Their untouched dinner grew cold as they spent the evening exploring their new connection, learning the depths of their compatibility, and beginning to plan a future neither of them had imagined possible just 6 months ago. The news of Kang Min and Hannah's planned union spread across the galactic networks with unprecedented speed. The morning after their engagement, their private moment had somehow become the most discussed topic in diplomatic circles. Kang Min's communication device buzzed constantly with messages from both supporters and critics. In the grand meeting hall of the Galactic Council, species representatives argued fiercely about the implications. The Valerians, known for their rigid social hierarchies, were particularly vocal in their opposition. "Humans are barely space-capable," their ambassador declared, multiple eyes blinking in agitation. "They lack the mental sophistication required for an Aetherian bond. This union could destroy both participants." Earth's diplomatic team, led by Senior Ambassador Park, stood firm. "Humanity's ability to form mental bonds with Aetherians has been scientifically documented. We will not allow prejudice to dictate the personal choices of two consenting beings." Back on Earth, Kang Min and Hannah found themselves at the center of a media storm. News crews camped outside their apartment, hoping to catch glimpses of the controversial couple. Hannah's skin patterns showed her distress at the constant attention, though she never complained. "I expected resistance," she told Kang Min one evening as they watched protest coverage on the news. But not this intensity. The protests had spread to multiple worlds. Conservative species saw their union as a threat to the established order. Some claimed humans were trying to steal Aetherian genetic advantages. Others warned of catastrophic consequences from mixing such different species. However, support came from unexpected quarters. The remaining Aetherian communities across the galaxy sent messages of blessing and hope. Their eldest council member, speaking from a hidden sanctuary, released a powerful statement. "For centuries, we have watched our people fade toward extinction, unable to find compatible minds among the stars. Now, in humanity," Hannah's expression grew serious. "If you accept, we would form a permanent mental bond. Our children would carry both human and Aetherian traits. It would be unprecedented." But her patterns shifted to show hope and uncertainty. "I believe it could be wonderful." Kang Min looked at their still joined hands, feeling the warmth of their connection. Every moment since meeting her had led to this: the auction, the freedom granted, the lessons shared, the growing understanding between them. In his heart, he already knew his answer. "Show me again," he whispered. "Show me what you feel." Her smile brightened the room as she deepened their mental connection. This time, he was ready for it, opening his mind to fully experience the resonance between them. It felt like coming home to a place he'd never known he was missing. "Yes," he said simply. "I accept your choice." Hannah's joy manifested as waves of light rippling across her skin, filling the room with shifting patterns of silver and gold. She stood, moving around the table to kneel beside his chair, never breaking their physical connection. "My people have a saying," she said softly. "The mind chooses true, but the heart makes it real. I chose you with my mind, Kang Min, but my heart has only made that choice stronger with each passing day." Their untouched dinner grew cold as they spent the evening exploring their new connection, learning the depths of their compatibility, and beginning to plan a future neither of them had imagined possible just 6 months ago. The news of Kang Min and Hannah's planned union spread across the galactic networks with unprecedented speed. The morning after their engagement, their private moment had somehow become the most discussed topic in diplomatic circles. Kang Min's communication device buzzed constantly with messages from both supporters and critics. In the grand meeting hall of the Galactic Council, species representatives argued fiercely about the implications. The Valerians, known for their rigid social hierarchies, were particularly vocal in their opposition. Humans are barely space-capable, their ambassador declared, multiple eyes blinking in agitation. They lack the mental sophistication required for an Aetherian bond. This union could destroy both participants. Earth's diplomatic team, led by Senior Ambassador Park, stood firm. Humanity's ability to form mental bonds with Aetherians has been scientifically documented. We will not allow prejudice to dictate the personal choices of two consenting beings. Back on Earth, Kang Min and Hannah found themselves at the center of a media storm. News crews camped outside their apartment, hoping to catch glimpses of the controversial couple. Hannah's skin patterns showed her distress at the constant attention, though she never complained. "I expected resistance," she told Kang Min one evening as they watched protest coverage on the news. But not this intensity. The protests had spread to multiple worlds. Conservative species saw their union as a threat to the established order. Some claimed humans were trying to steal Aetherian genetic advantages. Others warned of catastrophic consequences from mixing such different species. However, support came from unexpected quarters. The remaining Aetherian communities across the galaxy sent messages of blessing and hope. Their eldest council member, speaking from a hidden sanctuary, released a powerful statement. "For centuries, we have watched our people fade toward extinction, unable to find compatible minds among the stars. Now, in humanity." Over the following months, the twins, named Min-ho and Sun-mai, developed at an extraordinary rate. Their mental abilities manifested early, allowing them to communicate telepathically not only with their parents but with each other. Yet they also showed remarkable physical resilience and adaptability, traits clearly inherited from their human father. The scientific community watched in fascination as the children mastered both psionic abilities and human skills. By 6 months, they could project their thoughts to anyone nearby. By 9 months, they were walking and speaking in both Korean and the musical tones of Aetherian language. "They represent the best of both worlds," the Aetherian elder declared during the twins' naming ceremony. "The mental strength of our people, combined with humanity's incredible capacity for growth and change." The implications extended far beyond one family. Other human Aetherian couples began to emerge, encouraged by the twins' successful birth. Research suggested that this genetic combination might help preserve and enhance both species. One afternoon, as the family relaxed in their garden, Min-ho demonstrated an entirely new ability. He could physically alter the light patterns in his skin to match any color or pattern he saw. Hours later, Sun-mai showed she could do the same, but with even more precise control. Their developing abilities neither species possessed alone. Hannah observed through their mental link, watching the twins create elaborate light shows together. The children's existence challenged long-held beliefs about species compatibility throughout the galaxy. Their rapid development and unique abilities suggested possibilities that had never been considered before. As the twins grew, they became living bridges between their parents' cultures. They moved effortlessly between human schools and Aetherian teaching sessions, excelling in both environments. Their presence helped break down barriers between species, encouraging greater understanding and cooperation. Kang Min and Hannah watched their children with pride and amazement, knowing they represented something larger than themselves. Through their bond, they shared the same thought. This was just the beginning of a new chapter in both their species' evolution. The twins' first birthday celebration brought together diplomats, scientists, and family members from both cultures. As Min-ho and Sun-mai played with their cousins, their laughter mixing human and Aetherian tones, the gathered observers could see the future taking shape before them. "They are stardust made real," Hannah said softly to Kangmin as they watched their children. The perfect blend of earth and stars. Through their mental link, both parents felt absolute certainty. Their love had opened a door that could never be closed, leading to a future brighter than either species could have imagined alone. As the twins created elaborate patterns of light in the evening air, their combined heritage pointed the way toward humanity's next great adventure among the stars.